Okay, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Andy Hodgetts. I'm a relatively new sergeant to Selly Ward. Welcome to the live tasking and community meeting. And with me today also is Carl Barrington, that's going to be helping me with the online part of our tasking meeting. So any questions posed via Twitter or other social media accounts, they will go onto the system and he can raise those if he answers when the time comes when the questions are posed. The plan for today will be just talk a little bit about what's been going on in Selly in terms of police perspective, get questions answered to you, and then finalise with a couple of good news stories. If I go from the start. Get the page right, excuse me. There we go, just a few details around our crime figures. I don't like quoting facts and figures too much, but it's a useful gauge, particularly when we're dealing with tactics the police use in terms of protecting the communities in the area. We have had a drop of burglaries of about 27%. In real terms, we've had 8 burglaries over the last month period, inclusive of April. But what is really good is the involvement recently of a resident in securing a prisoner. On Alton Road, a couple of days ago, there was a burglary whereby someone was knocking on a door. A resident saw this, thought it was a bit conspicuous because they kept going around the property, heard some smashing of glass and then just called it to the police. The person was found within. Of all things, he was trying to steal an electric guitar down the stairs and he was caught and detained, and he is now certainly not on our ward causing us any further problems. So that's some really good news. I wanted to feedback to the community, but that wouldn't have happened if a resident hadn't made the call. We can't obviously be everywhere at once, but we need the help of the community, and without that he would have then presumably gone on, sold the property and probably come back for more, and that's not going to happen now. And even if he's released at some suitable point in time, we know who he is and we're paying very close attention to him. In terms of robberies, we've had 4 offences, which is more than we had this time last month. I'll be saying that again, we've had some really good results. One there were several arrested from, and they won't be causing us any further concerns. That was an isolated incident, and it certainly didn't impact on local residents. And a second one was involving some residents of a certain establishment, whereby all persons have also been arrested on that as well. So although we have had some robberies, we've also had some really good arrests. What else we had for you? Another thing we pay close attention to is vehicle crime, whether that be theft from motor vehicles or... Good evening, Councillor. You can sit at the front if you like, Councillor.
I'm looking at the live stream as
well. We've had a total of 11 offences. There aren't any specific trends or anything to be particularly concerned about, and there's been a saving of about 20% on this time last year. So it's all good in terms of crime. I wanted to feedback some good stuff about our antisocial behaviour. Now, some antisocial behaviour on Selly does get involved with the student population we have. We have some 14,000 students just in the Bournebrook patch alone. Now, Carl Barrington, that's just out of shot on the camera, has done some fantastic work over the past couple of years, and he does a series of warnings to students, and he links in with the university to do that with the community wardens that they have within their establishment. Now, whenever he does the first warning, because of the way he does it and the impact it has, we don't get any further antisocial behaviour from those students in 90% of cases, so it has a real impact. Of those ones where we do continue to work on it, then we get more agencies involved and we have a more significant impact. But the fact that is we only have to put 1 warning in, and the vast majority of the times there are no further issues for the other residents and the students themselves. Not all students cause problems. Students are here to get educated and to work hard, and sometimes they play hard as well, and that impacts on other residents. That's why we get involved. That's mainly it from me. Councillor, is there anything you wish to say before I move on to questions from the floor?
No, I've got a couple of points to add in later, but they may come up on the floor. So
okay, if they don't,
start with that.
Okay, thanks very much. Remember, if you are watching online, please feel free to ask questions via Twitter, and Carl Barrington will raise them to you. In terms of questions from the floor, please make them fairly short if you can, because what I'll need to do is repeat them so that the camera and the microphone can pick it up so other people can hear it who might be watching online. Any questions from the floor? Yes, please.
What are the plans for traffic control at Big John's? We're now building up to that estate becoming quite substantial, and there are 4 ways. Could you well, there's 3, but you have to look coming up the Bristol Road, cross the Bristol Road, and people turning right into Elliot Road.
Yeah.
There's no indication on the part, on the page, on the road, that you need to look both ways. Which is okay for me, because I know I need to look both ways and both ways and both ways. But there's quite a lot of traffic of people, pedestrians, as well as traffic coming off. It's getting much busier. So what are the plans to make that a safer corner?
Okay.
So people at least know where to look, they don't know to cross the Bristol Road and right to Elliot Road.
Okay, I'll just repeat the question back so that the benefit of people online is that the question is relating to Elliot Road, Big John's, the junction near Bristol Road, in terms of road safety. What are the plans in place? The plans in terms of what the police are doing about it, it's the whole junction, which is Bristol Road, Chapel Lane, Elliot Road, Big John's, etc. That is a frequent issue, particularly for the police, in terms of safety of pedestrians and drivers as well. We had it as a priority, not last month, but the month before. I think on one day we stopped 92 drivers, were given advice. 6 of those were reported for offences. However, that's a short-term measure, and this occurred in February, was it, Carl? That was offences of going through bus lanes, turning left when they shouldn't be, etc., and occasionally going through red lights, probably paying too much attention to the police officer, not attention to the lights on that specific occasion. That was on one given day. We were doing it every day that we were actually on duty. However, that is a short-term measure. Councillor, do you have anything to input in terms of that?
That particular question's not come up before. We know that when the Sainsbury's development's completed and the strip of road can be released on Harborne Lane, the whole triangle and all the junctions around it will be looked at. But what we can do is take that back to highways now and see if there's something they can do in the meantime. Yes.
Somebody who stood there at the pavement thinking, well, there's nothing coming up here. I don't know if they would know to look across there. And they don't come out that far so that you can see somebody's actually got their indicators saying that they're going to turn right down into Elliot Road. And they just come whoosh round to make sure that they don't hit anyone coming traffic from Bristol Road. If there was something even written down on the road with an indication where to look, there's nothing. Well, that would be when you do the rejigging. But certainly some indication to a pedestrian, look right and left, or something has to just be written on the road.
Yes, I know what you mean. I'll just disappear out of shot then to get my phone, and I'll send the email while we're talking to find out what's happening.
I don't think that must be expensive. It's a short-term prevention.
Okay, no problem at all. Further questions? Yes, please.
Parking in Langley's Road is getting worse. It's been pretty good until the last 6 months. For some reason, more cars are being parked in Langley's Road. They stop Langley's Road by the Methodist Church.
Yeah.
And it seems the highway code is not looked at very much. Cars are parked right on the corner of the road, so when you come up Langley's Road, turn left towards Oaktree Lane, you can't see. Also, there is a dip for wheelchairs, and very often cars are in front of the dip. We were delighted to see 2 cars have been ticketed recently, so that was good. We need, I think, a stronger message. Who parks there? Now, I don't know whether it's the works at the Oaktree Lane and the hospital.
Okay.
No, but,
I'll just read the question back so the benefit of people, if they're watching online, can notice it. That's basically the question posed is the issues in relation to Langley's Road, excessive parking, who's parking on that road, causing problems. But actually, the obstruction. Although you had actually highlighted that a couple of cars have been recently ticketed, so that's good to hear.
yes.
Carl is responsible for that patch on the wall. Is it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So it's between us and Volvo.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, in terms of answering the question, obviously some tickets have been done. We're already aware of the problem. It's actually apparently a border between us and Bourneville, but that's it, largely irrelevant as far as I'm concerned. PC Wayne Lawrence and PCSO, and in fact I've just promoted Wayne. They're both PCSOs. Wayne and Nadine, they will take some active patrols in that area for you, certainly over the next month. And if I can get your details afterwards, I'll make sure that it actually gets fed back directly to you. What we tend to do is I'll feed back the results online if I can, but I'll feed it directly to you if you give me some details at the end of the meeting, if that's okay. We'll take a look at it and feed it back, not a problem. Before going any further, I'll just shout if you've got any questions placed on the Twitter system.
Yeah, there's one on here. I had a road safety meeting next week. Have you got any plans?
Road safety, yep. That is something I've just been putting through to our central partnerships team. Road Safety Week is very generic, and each ward has been asked for specific plans in terms of what we are doing to improve road safety, certainly temporary and long-term measures. That sort of fits back into the question you were raising on Elliott Road. Our main plan is certainly centred for the next few days, or in the terms of that week specifically, is around our schools. It is a constant problem for residents, and it is a constant problem for kids, and quite often it is the parents themselves who don't generally unwittingly realise that they're causing danger to their own kids and other people's kids. So every Tohora duty that we're on, and we're on 3 days out of the 5 days that it's going through, morning and afternoons, so we will be there before the parents and children arrive at school. We will be there before they get there for when they're leaving as well. Any parked cars that are causing willful obstruction will be appropriately dealt with. We have a load of leaflets to dish out to advise drivers. We'll also be putting it online to show the impact that to these drivers are having to anyone who's online and watching them. That is the main plan, but on top of that, in the near future, we have a cycling plan to improve the road safety for cyclists. Cyclists in the Birmingham area unfortunately get involved in more accidents on Selly and Edgbaston than they do on any other ward. And that is a concern to me. It's only been recently raised to me. And as a result, what we're going to be doing is getting hopefully something with suitable livery on the side of it, but a large HGV in the middle part of Selly and stopping cyclists on the road and advising them and coming to the HGV. What they'll then do is, if we sit in with the cab, show them how little HGVs can actually see of the road around them. So when cyclists come up the side of them, that's how a lot of accidents occur. It's a bit of education for the cyclists, and it's a bit of positive publicity for the police, and the fire will also become involved on that. I know the fire are doing a lot of work recently in terms of the community and helping in terms of road safety and reducing serious injuries on the roads.
But going back to the school thing at Timothy Road,
Yep.
they've got that very big yellow grid that says, you know, don't park here.
Mhm.
That's what but now I notice that the parents, one of them, has one's got an extra kid, they double park on the other side. So obviously a car can come down, crossing that yellow grid, but they're obstructed, they're 2 cars deep on the other side. So they're not technically in that red box, or that yellow box that says, please don't park here for your children's safety.
Yeah.
On the ground.
Yeah, just because someone's not parked in a place that they aren't supposed to doesn't mean they're causing obstruction or causing a risk, which is why, and it's been happening particularly on Selly now for some time, is regardless of what our operational commitments are, that between certain hours, particularly around the school time hours, our staff are in and around the schools to prevent the problems and keep the kids safe. I'm glad to the feedback that has been seen. So that's an answer.
Today, outside St Mary's School, was keep clear, quite opposite the gate, and there's 2 girls sitting in a car there, just completely blocking that.
Okay. Feel free to feed through anything you get at the time for us to come out. We're not always on duty, but call us on 101. Yeah, that's fine. Feed it back via email, feed it back by 101, and we'll, if there's a particular problem, particular vehicle, if you note down the registration, send it to us.
Just stuck there.
Yeah, if you've got the registration, just feed it back to us, and even if we can't deal with it on the day, we can then have a conversation with the driver and the keeper of the vehicle. No problem.
I've had a request from residents in Selly Park. I know you do St Edward's and Selly Park schools,
Yeah.
but parents are parking up on Woodside Road by the recreation ground on double yellow lines. So if it could, which then causes problems with access to Woodside and round into the nursery. It's not a nursery, it's called the nursery. It's a little residential close. So if occasionally, while they're looking at the problems in that area, they could walk up and have a look, it would be much appreciated. Unfortunately, there's also a problem there with taxi drivers using the bushes rather than going back to their bases. I don't know if that's at
You've got specific times that would help.
No, I've asked for that, so when
Okay.
I've got that, I'll pass it on.
Yeah, definitely. We'll resolve that as soon as you give me some time. It's not a problem. I'll feed it back. Further questions? Yes, thank you.
I know what the law is on driving and parking on pavements, but I'm sure one of the girls there would agree, and Miss Jones here with the post office, child is
Yes.
it's horrendous.
Yeah, really run over.
I mean, there's curbs and pavement slabs, and how a kind of blind or partially blind or a wheelchair guy gets up in person around that area. I've licensed
Just confirm the area you're talking about again.
Just say Oaktree Lane.
Oh, yeah.
So you've got days and lines, there's a car, permanent car there, every single day, outside, down, forward. So you've got, I don't know, decent inch space to get by.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got a TK, which has also got a van and another car. Then you've got the Chinese that also parked outside with the Chinese home. Then you've got a Range Rover or a Swing 4x4 outside the Hill Crest, I think it's called, I'm not sure. But there's at least 6 or 7 cars on there daily for at least 10 hours a day. What's the law there?
In terms of the law,
Alright,
depends on the circumstances, but largely the pavement is for people, not for cars. I happen to know because we only drove past PCSO Lawrence. Is a bit of a terror when it comes to these sort of things. I was only there 2 days ago, making sure that the drivers were getting off of the pavement. We're not there all the time, I appreciate that. But we can certainly build up a profile if that's causing a continual issue. A bollard?
These concrete.
Just for the benefit of online, just in case it wasn't heard, the question posed to that was in terms of people on the pavement or vehicles on the pavement around Oaktree Lane near Bristol Road. Particularly reported could well be the actual owners of the off licences, etc. Yeah, Wayne Lawrence was only there 2 days ago getting rid of the vehicles. So in terms of any permanency, like bollards and stuff like that, it's not something that policing could impact on. Councillor, is there something you can look at?
Yeah, the problem is that the bit directly in front of the premises belongs to the shop by and large, like on Bristol Road as well. But it's how they get there that's the problem. And
it does belong to me, but you clearly wouldn't because of pedestrians and stuff. I don't know if there's something to be done about it, just more tickets or some advice or a bit of a note saying, I mean, you know, anybody with partial sighted, it must be an option. It must be. I mean, years ago,
Yeah.
and the cycling thing, you're saying protecting cyclists, protecting us when cyclists go on the pavement.
Well, the reason they're going on the pavement is because they're at risk on the roads. So if we can protect the cyclists, a little bit so, yeah. Because if it is such a risky place, and it appears to be, and I think that although I can't verify without looking at the statistics in a bit more detail, the fact that Edgbaston and Selly have the highest ratios, it could well be linked to with the students, which we meet, and part of our work with the fire service, which PCSO Tony Jones is working on at the moment, is educating the students to try and get those reductions in.
6 years, 12 miles a day on the road, you know, when I've got off my bike, I've got to push people on the pavement.
Yeah. I'm not condoning a cyclist that goes on the pavement, but you can see why some would make the decision. Yeah.
You are not meant to cycle on the pavement in the area, just out of the pavement.
As Councillor said, in the long term, there are some significant changes that will be happening to Selly Oak, but they are long-term measures, certainly. If there's a specific issue, you know to call 101. If there's a danger, you know how to call us. Okay, thank you. Any further questions online, Carl? No. Beautiful. Questions from the floor?
Reservoir Road.
Reservoir Road.
Yes, you bring it up every time, speeding.
Yes, in fact, only 2 months ago, we had a priority on that road.
You had a
Priority, basically we set a task and action for our team to get involved and see what we can do about it. Again, that was PCSO Lawrence that got involved in that. We had speed watch operations, and also he was down there most days. But continue, what was your question?
Well, the speeding is bad up there.
Speeding.
Yeah. The last time I saw them out there was on the Sunday doing a speed watch. But the thing is, as I told them, they're outside my house. Wrong day, wrong time. I mean, you know, it's the weeks. They want to when they're going to work, when they're going to work, and when they're coming back home.
Okay.
And because we have such a lot of cars that are parked in the road.
Well, when people are going to work, it's the same time that people are taking their kids to school.
Yeah.
So that's where our staff are generally. If people are coming home, it's generally a little bit later. We can certainly organise our patrol strategy to include Reservoir Road, and I'll have that done. Not a problem. Carl, remind me before we get back, in case I haven't read my own notes properly.
And then there's a roadway behind Reservoir Road that leads into the park. It's at the back of them. And we've got motorbikes going every now and again along the old canal.
Motorbikes by the park behind Reservoir Road.
Yes, they go
Along the old canal.
along the old canal. They
Okay.
ride all along the old canal behind the house.
Okay. I've only seen 1 or 2 calls for that, but obviously there's several of you
It's
talking
It's
about
not
it.
the better way.
No, the better way.
Started.
Absolutely.
Started, yeah.
No, absolutely. The key with this from person is intelligence, which means information, which means you get it to us and we can act on it. So if you get any details, descriptions, obviously registrations, if they're the right sort of motorbike, are we talking little scramblers or tiny bikes? Are we talking quad bikes?
No, we just hear them as they're going along. We don't.
Where our house is, then you've got the garden, then you've got all the trees,
Along the back.
Yeah.
I can't see.
the old canal. So you can't really see, you can just hear them going on.
So the noises that causing the impact, you can't actually see what's going on.
Yes.
But I had a report from Wheelie Avenue of quad bikes that may well be the same, because
Well,
they
yeah.
would come down the line of the old canal
Yeah.
and through on there, round and back. And again, I encourage people to actually phone in when they
definitely.
actually see them.
But we, by the time they've gone, we wanted to go up the road and up a pathway. There's nobody there by the time we get there.
But it's still worth ringing 101 and saying you've heard them.
And say they're along the back.
Yeah.
Like yourself, it may be you don't get there in time, and maybe we do, but if we don't get the call, we won't attend and we won't get the information in the first place. Police have powers in terms of vehicles causing antisocial behaviour, whether it's warning or seizing vehicles. Only a couple of days ago, we retweeted that Bourville's team had successfully stopped a quad bike and a second scrambler bike with it, albeit they were actually in the, I think it was the Billesley area. The owner of the vehicle and the vehicles themselves were subject with warnings, so that any further activity that involves antisocial behaviour with those vehicles or that person results potentially in those vehicles then being seized. So when we get the vehicles, we will act on them. It's not a problem. We'll do that. Further questions? So you put your hand up last time, so I missed it.
More on parking, I'm afraid. Frederick Road.
I'll repeat those words on the question, but
Frederick Road.
parking.
In the week. It's one big car park.
Whereabouts? Sorry, sir.
Frederick Road, okay. Now, you walk up this evening and there's 4 cars. You come up at 10 o'clock in the morning and there'll be 54 cars. Now, when the school is being attended to, you can't manoeuvre up this end of Frederick Road at all. And residents stopped me on the way tonight and said, could you look into the obstructions caused by parents during this time, morning and afternoon when they come?
So you're going to say something?
I was just going to say, and the speed sometimes that people manage to achieve on Frederick Road.
Well, most of the cars in the mornings are half on the pavement and half off, so they can squeeze more in, and it's just one big parking lot. I don't know where they come from. A lot of people park up this end to get on the bus and go into the city. The other end, they're all at the job centre. I mean, there's 30 spaces at the job centre and there's 75 staff. So where's the anomaly there? There's not enough spaces at the job centre for the staff. So they go where they can. And in Rachel Gardens, where I live, and it's just chock-a-block. People can't get in and out of their own houses, especially when they're only visiting the job centre. They double park and there's not enough. But I have to tell them. And if I see somebody back parking, I want to get a sticker and put it on their windscreen.
Oh, I've got them in this bag. I've got some of those don't plonk it, park it leaflets.
We've got a load, absolute load. Just the question posed was Freddie Road parking inconsiderate, particularly after 10 o'clock. Some of it impacts from the schools, other is there's lack of parking elsewhere. If a person wishes to park on a public road and has the ability to do so, they can do so, but they can't cause obstruction, they can't block, particularly if it's a low curve.
Yeah. I can't get anywhere near my house. There's a lady at the top of it, got a reserve space because she's disabled. The minute she goes, somebody's in it. When she comes back, she has to park 3 or 4 houses down with permission by the owner of the house. And this lady's drive opposite because she can't get in a disabled
It's very inconsiderate. Thank you. The leaflets we've just been talking about, there's a whole host of those, and they'll all be distributed next week, come the safety week that we've got coming up. Thank you. Carl, we got any further questions from the online? No. Okay then. Sir, I think you were next.
I will admit, I park in Frederick Road when I have the hospital work, but I always park on this side, down the bottom if I can, where there's no houses. You know, parking response line and coming up.
Well, so people can park on public roads, that's not a problem.
Yeah,
it's when people are blocked.
I do periodically when I'm unemployment.
I do.
No, the problem is in Frederick Road, if you live in one of the houses where they park, where the curb is not dropped, right? You want to get out of your house, you've got a car there, and you've got a car there. You can't see any side when to back out. Because there are shops in the
It's, you know, in our roads, that's the same there.
I would like to mention about extra parking around these roads. Now they've shut Selly over at Hospital, where all them cars used to park. Where they go? They've got to park somewhere, because they used to catch the bus to the QE and that, you know, staff bus. The staff bus still runs there, and I noticed the parking down Madelbarn Road virtually every day now it's completely full. And I dare say they have QE. So they'll park there, catch the bus to the QE.
Just
that's the parts.
Yeah, I think that's got parts of black. Yeah. Actually, might be able to answer this question for myself. In terms of with Selly and Hospital, the updates the latest round of developments.
This site's been sold and they're going to planning with the first phase. Sadly, they've decided to do the easy bit first, which is the cricket ground side, rather than
cut all the trees down.
Yeah. From Woodlands Nurses Home up to Hestia Drive, that's where they're going to start. And they will be preserving the cricket ground and building a new pavilion, so they will.
Called the Oval, isn't it?
Yes, yes. So they're going to build there first rather than on the more difficult side.
So technically, they've still left that open to the cars parking.
Yes.
Technically.
Take over the car.
But they have sold the land.
Yeah. You raise your hand.
Can the councillor tell us when the humps are coming in Hodgetts Road and the yellow lines round one?
So
we're having speed humps, aren't we, in Gibbons Road?
Speed humps and Gibbons Road.
I can't remember the detail of the scheme, but they are working on it at the moment.
It's part of the them through the house, but it doesn't tell us when they're going to begin.
I don't have a date. I can get you a date. It's a Safer Routes to School scheme to try and make it safer for children to walk to school, to St Mary's from the neighbouring area. And the Lodge Hill Residents Association asked that a 20-mile-an-hour limit be included, so that's been worked into it. So I don't have the date with me, but I can find out for you.
Further questions? You haven't asked a question yet, so you go first.
It's not a really question, but it's an incident that happened about 2 weeks ago.
Before we go further, just in case you get a picture of the moment, don't talk about specifics of location or anything like that, but if it is a specific thing you want to raise and it involves people, we'll talk about it afterwards. So if you want to talk about it generically, that's fine to do so.
How about, I'm not sure then, this is a bit like, if it's ordinance, yeah, maybe unfortunate.
Yeah, conclusion of the meeting, come see you. I know we're going to take details from yourself later anyway in terms of feeding back to you your query. But yeah, we'll have a conversation afterwards if you're happy with that.
We've got one on there as well.
Yeah.
Is it illegal to be building roads on the road, not in skips or in skip backs, see all the time on the road?
That's a question that we've been questions that we've been raising early in the projects meeting early on in the week, wasn't it? Yes. In terms of what we're going to be doing about it. I won't go with the date because that's going online, and then people might be making plans to work around our dates. But effectively, council, myself, various other partner agencies are actually working on that exact problem. But you can't, you cannot just dump stuff, building materials on there. If you have a specific project, like we're all allowed to renovate our own homes and get builders in and get fixes done. And on the day that you want to do some building work, if you've got to put some bricks in, you can bring them in, that's fine. But you can't just leave it there for more than days and days and days, or just dump rubbish, you can't litter. And there's a whole list of things that you can and can't do around skips. And those violations are noted by us, and it isn't the first time it's been fed back, it is a repeated occurrence. And we have a project day where we will really be hitting Selly hard in the near future to really cause a significant impact. Unfortunately, we won't stop that impact because the sheer volume of work that goes on in the Selly, particularly Bournemouth area.
They need to be fined.
Yes, absolutely.
They're causing damage to the pavements, slabs themselves, or not allowing you to park your car. They need to be fined. They don't take warnings. They want a warning.
I agree. Some of the partner agencies involved will be environmental, HMO legislation, and anyone and everyone that we can get involved that can take action. That way, when we see any problem on our roads, as we walk up and down the road, which we will be in the very near future, we will have a specific officer that can deal with that point of legislation and resolve it there and then. That goes from skips to whether there's people who haven't got the right to stay in the country at this time, goes right through the range of things. We'll have staff from the police, councils becoming, and various other partner agencies as well to resolve that.
But it's always worth reporting it, because even if it's a skip, they don't always bother to get the permit they're supposed to have. If they've got a permit, then they know that they have to have cones and lights on the skip. I can't remember when I last saw a skip with lights in Bournemouth. But if they, particularly if they're just dumping their rubbish on the road, they're unlikely to have applied for planning, building control, all the other things that they are supposed to have done.
My cousin where the politicians who we're going to speak of tonight just don't get it, do they? This is what affects all of us, as opposed to what the grander economic thing is, that how we walk down the road safely, how we don't get knocked over by, these are the things that are important to just to Joe Brooks and me.
Well, we do spend an awful lot of time on it, and it is time consuming because and the officers concerned, the council officers concerned, do the same, because we always cross-check. So it's not just the skip's in the wrong place, or somebody's not got a skip, or they're working off the road, they've got their cement mixer on the road. It's then cross-checking all the other stuff to it to try and stop these problems occurring. Because the people that behave like that, the builders who are working for the landlords who behave like that, are more likely not to be notifying the neighbours of what they're doing, observing the party wall regulations, and ultimately when they've done the work, they're not going to be treating their tenants well either. So it's really important that if somebody starts working outside permitted hours, working on a bank holiday, all those things get reported, particularly if people are still permanent residents in Bournemouth. It really is worth reporting it.
What's the best way for them to report it?
Probably the district office. And my mind's gone blank on the phone number. I will look it up. They can do it online as well. Let me find it before we go off air.
Yeah, no problem.
I'll come back
While
to that.
we're looking at that, I know Austin Rodriguez is the places officer now specifically for Selly Oak Ward. And a lot of what the work he's doing around this is making it easier, not only internally, but externally for all the departments of the council to be productive, to get this joined up approach, which in theory we should all have, but the council appreciate that they're not quite there sometimes. They don't always get it right, neither does police, neither does everyone else. But one of his roles and responsibilities is to make all departments work together better so that there are fewer barriers to resolving community issues. I know he's making some progress there. It is not a short-term fix, it's one he's developing, and we're both working alongside him to try and make those improvements. Further questions, Lady Pink?
Okay, it's advice I'm asking for.
Okay.
Say there's an incident in your road,
Mm-hmm.
and you find out that a neighbour has evidence from his personal CCTV.
Mm-hmm.
What would you advise him to do with that evidence?
If the question or the advice query posed was if a neighbour's got some CCTV which pertains to an incident, what would you do with it? The easiest role is if that incident was there and then, and the person had the CCTV, you would call up 101. If it's something that's happening in the Selly Oak area, have a conversation with us afterwards if it's a specific thing. But if it was a future reference or it's just a generic, you can either call 101 and say there's this and this is what it relates to. We may have an active police investigation ongoing, in which case we can forward it. Alternatively, if it's not particularly urgent or you don't think it's urgent, just go through, when you go online, you can see our Selly Oak website and our email address. Forward the details to us and we'll clarify then and there as soon as we get the email. We, as long as we're on duty, we all check our emails and we will reply back swiftly.
Okay,
Thank you.
And I found the details. So the phone number for the Selly Oak District Office is 0121 464 9072. That's 0121 464 9072. And the email is sellyoak, no dot in the middle, at birmingham.gov.uk.
Thank you. Further questions?
Graffiti is getting worse again.
What's getting worse?
Graffiti.
Graffiti's getting worse.
Yes.
Whereabouts?
The council has cleaned these posts up around there, and also they've cleaned up to the QE hospital. I see they've defaced there. And I mean,
Also, I mean, pavement, we just had the outside Papa John's have actually decided to write on the floor.
I mean, the other day it was on all the posts, you know.
Is that on the bench and just done that?
Yeah.
So it's, I mean, how.
It's in blue, I don't know if that's.
That's Big John's, Papa John's.
Yeah. The council have already cleaned the notices that I've put to the new QE and these posts out here, I noticed tonight. And the box in Nodgel Road, I think it's the telephone box, I don't know if they do. Can't we have some of that paint that they did on the cable boxes? You know, they did the paint, didn't they, on the cable boxes, which stopped the graffiti. It was done on all the boxes.
Do we have a question with the paint?
We can certainly ask Austin, he's the one to
And the bridge, I
check
mean, the
that.
new bridge is a disgrace, isn't it? It's got 3 murals, it's not.
It's been cleaned so many
I
times.
know, but it doesn't look any good when it's, you know, it's messy.
Yeah.
And it's the psychological effect it has, graffiti.
I should say it's distracting.
Almost like it was on the W.
Yeah.
Says that there should be some devices where they can't get onto the bridge to do it. I think that's part of the thrill of getting onto the bridge.
Yeah. Graffiti impacts on the perceptions of safety.
Yeah, exactly. And you've got it in a park or somewhere, you don't want to take the kids there.
No.
Someone else says to you, no. You know, the inference is that
This
the
on,
beauty equals.
this on the railways, right the way up to Lichfield, and every box I went on Thursday, I've never known
No,
it.
it's just painting it instead. You think we should give them a job?
Well, I'm sure some of this paint that we have for the,
I think it has been previously done.
I'm sure that could be used on.
We've certainly done that in Brighton. Yes, with animals and things like that, and then you have a trail where people go around and see the different. To actually do it as artwork, and then hopefully the taggers respect that and don't.
Nothing on the railway, they're going over, it's blue, it's all the way up on all the railway equipment on the lines, but I mean, that's transporting.
Yeah, just to give a bit of positive feedback on that exact thing, we didn't stop them all, but we certainly stopped 2 on Sunday night who were tagging going down towards Umberslade Road. And that was by when Lawrence and Nadeem, they were seeing some youths causing what they thought was a bit of graffiti. They were stopped, aerosol cans in pockets, seized. One of them now is now subject of an interview. But that's only 1 and 2. There are others, and we can't stop them all, but that's a reason for that we can't.
We seem to have a good road for a bit, didn't we? And then all of a sudden, this last 3 months, it's really gone berserk.
Okay, it's useful to know, thank you. Further questions?
Yeah, just the plans from Big John's to the tool shop or whatever that is. Is that going to be kind of developed, is it, or what's the plans there?
The empty shops.
Yeah,
they've got
from Big John's to it's a tool shop or you see a kite shop or joke shop or whatever it is. What bed shop, all that is now.
It's got planning permission for student flats. The worse it looks, the more likely they are to get the planning consent, which is very frustrating. But there's no compulsion once you've got planning permission to actually build it. It increases the value of the land, but you have 3 years before the planning permission runs out.
So who has actually bought that land then? Is it a university or is it?
No, it's a private developer.
Any further questions online? Okay, thank you, Carl. Further questions from the floor? No more? Councillor, is there anything further you wish to raise?
Can we look out for problems with noise and antisocial behaviour on Dawlish Road in particular, now that the nights are lighter? Some of the permanent residents along there are still reporting problems.
Is there a specific
It's
individual that's reporting it?
No, there's several.
Okay.
I did see in the jewellery quarter they have signs on the lampposts asking people to be quiet. I mean, it's a slightly different problem in the jewellery quarter because you've got pubs that have been there for years and then you've got newly built flats. But anything that reminds people, we might see how they.
Well, it doesn't work quite on the railway, not going up to the ditch anyhow.
Really. But it's something that at least if we can say that we've discussed and it's going to be looked out for, and then look at reminders like signs, even if we don't get nice metal ones, if we have some plastic.
We also need to encourage between 1 and 1. We don't achieve a full storage.
No.
There's a certain type of ice that are obviously issues with, but we can encourage people to be 1 and 1, or the guild, or even the owners. So the Sarge said we can go out there. Issues more than levels for students and nip it in the bud.
It's that thing where at 11:30 you think, oh, it's going to stop in a minute. I won't go round or I won't go out. And then before you know it, it's 1 o'clock and it's as bad.
Even if we're not on duty, not being the closest to a shore next day, so definitely recommend to be 1 and 1.
Fully unfair. Carl and I, after the meeting, are due to go down to Dawlish Road because we're going to speak to conservatism. So that's just after the meeting, and that was in relation to antisocial behaviour. Okay, thank you.
What time would you give it to? Midnight and then?
Well, in terms of when you want to call us, You can call us whenever.
The council cut off to the
Council cut off to the
yeah, and start the fireworks issue. We say that at the worst case scenario, students can do like an hour of
I was going to say, I
that. But if
think
it's irritating you earlier in the night, school rooms,
yeah,
we can still go and tell them to turn it down. And, you know,
yeah.
some people really to us because foot high, so they still respect their neighbours, and it doesn't matter what time of life is.
Well, I know some of the cars are blasting out with the fine weather and the windows down already, aren't they? So heading out the neighbours.
But with Dawlish Road being the bus route, it's not just coming from the houses, it's actually people on their way through the area. And if you've got small children that you're trying to get to sleep to school the next day, it's a problem.
Carl, you can pick that up for the next month, can't you? Paying attention. Thank you. Anything else before I draw to a conclusion?
Well, that's not antisocial behaviour stuff for us to talk afterwards if that's
Not a problem at all. Well, to conclude on that in terms of where we're going to be for the next month then, particularly on the Selly Airport, because there's always the vulnerability to burglaries and the impact it has on us as individuals when we are victims or our friends or family victims of burglaries. That will remain an ongoing priority for us for the next month. I think based on what you've been talking about, the nodding of heads, I think graffiti will have to be the second one for us that we'll push forward for the next month. That doesn't mean to say the other points we've raised we won't pursue as well, but if we'll take that as a second priority, graffiti in the area and we'll feedback, just keep the information coming, particularly if you see specific tags that are new, we can then take photographs of them, pick them against information we've got. Obviously, I'm sure most of you know that certain individuals use certain tags, and therefore if we identify the people that are responsible for those tags, then we can backtrack and hopefully resolve and reduce the issue, particularly in Selly Oak. So we'll take those two forward with us for the next month and work through those, no problem at all. Is there anything anyone has before I come to a conclusion and stop?
Can I just, coincidentally, I've just had an email that links to, I think the last meeting where there was a problem with fly tipping.
I've said since then.
Knowles and Stevens?
Yes.
I've just had an email confirming that local businesses have been served with notices.
Fantastic.
They have to be able to show that they are paying to get rid of their rubbish. Somebody's been fined for fly tipping, and there is a big no dumping sign up there as well. So that was a happy coincidence that that's arrived.
Yeah, nice bit of good news at the end of it all. Okay, that's a good conclusion. Thank you very much.